Find your own way, man. Be your own person. Find that one thing that you are great at that no one else can replicate, and be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself always.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani. We have right here on the line a very special guest. He's a former NFL player. He's a former WWE superstar, and now he has turned entrepreneur with Paragon. We're talking to the multi-talented Mojo Rawley, aka Dean Mojo Muhtadi. Dean, thank you so much for the time. How are you? Or as they say in Arabic, ahla sahla.
Shukran, Nahi. Shukran, dude. I'm great, man. Thank you very much for having me on. It has been a busy stretch over here on the PTG side, but excited to finally share some of our new plans and what we're up to with the world. So it's going to be a good couple months.
Definitely going to be a good couple months. Going to be a great WrestleMania week, which you're participating in. Of course, with Slamfest. We'll get to that in a second, but I'm sure a lot of fans have been wondering. Maybe they haven't tuned in to TMZ. I should have also said TMZ Sports Star as well. Maybe they're not sure. Like, what's Mojo been up to over the last several years? Your last match was in 2020, at least officially. Are you officially retired from pro wrestling? Have you kind of closed that door, or are you still leaving it cracked?
Full time, buddy. I am retired, even though I have been teasing the comeback for what? Almost 6 years at this point, having a little fun with it. To that point, I do plan on coming back at some point for like one night only, one fun match here and there. Find a piece of business that makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, I've been going in and training, since I've been retired. I went and I was training with flatbacks for a while over there with Spears and Breeze just to kind of stay in shape and have some fun. I've been training over at House of Champions periodically. Jamie Stanley School, which has been awesome. I love it. I miss it. I can't do it full time. It doesn't make any sense for me to in just all the ways right now. But being able to go get in ring, take a few bumps, the ones that I want to take, run the ropes, blow up drills, all these things, and have some fun with my friends, dude. I love it, and I'm glad I can control my schedule.
Is there a transition period, like where you have to kind of get over the fact that, okay, that's kind of behind me now and focus your energy on something else?
I gotta say, I've always had smooth transitions. They weren't overly jarring. And I think that was really good for my mental health because I can't tell you how many friends I've had in both college football, the NFL, and also, WWE, where you invest your entire life into this one career and it, almost defines you. And then when it's taken away from you instantaneously against your will, you're sitting there and you're just like, what's next? Like, how do I handle this? Not everybody prepared for what's next financially. Not everybody's prepared to take some unpaid time off. A lot of these guys are living paycheck to paycheck, and it's tough. At least with my football career, I got cut, but I, still knew I had a shot at coming back. I got injured. I thought maybe, I could come back from that at some point, but I always had, an incredible job in finance waiting for me on the other side because I killed myself in school. Like, I never phoned my career in academically. I always knew the opportunity was hand. I always knew that I was a walk-on and an undrafted kind of guy, the last recruit, and you always have to have a plan B. And then even, with wrestling, like with COVID, I always thought I was going to be able to come back at some point. I just didn't know when that was going to be. I mean, there were times where I thought it was all over and I was done, but when you're in it and you're recovering, your mind is focused entirely on just getting back to the game. So, with that, I started Paragon and that took off and, did almost immediately. So right from the jump, I already had my next best thing, and that ended up being something better for me than wrestling in ring could have possibly been. And just so many ways, I make more money now. I work from home now. I'm with my family all the time. I'm making other people more money than I could have wrestling them in a ring. So it's like literally checking all the boxes. So that's why now it's like I'm done. No chance I'm going back full time. But little fun here and there. Maybe that'll make sense, even though it hasn't yet for almost 6 years.
Well, that's great to hear. And look, man, you're certainly having fun. You founded Paragon Talent Group with your friend Stephen Kaye, and it's one thing to go from being in the spotlight to being an entrepreneur. It's another thing to becoming an agent, manager, whatever you want to call it, representing the very talents that are kind of your peers and colleagues. So, what made you decide specifically to get into management? And was there an adjustment from people seeing you as, oh, this is the Mojo I see him in the locker room, to, oh, this is the guy who's actually in charge of the direction of my career?
That is always funny because I feel like at this point there are talent that have heard of Paragon Talent Group, but they don't realize I started it. So they're like, "Wait, what? That's Mojo's company? Party rocking, twerking, shirtless Mojo? Like that guy started this company?" I feel like a lot of my coworkers were familiar with my business background. And when we were wrestling, I was usually setting up the locker room with, hey, free hotels here, or hey, we got, a free spot at the club here, or, here's like a merch hookup or something like that. So I think it wasn't surprising for a lot of people. But, for me, I always studied business. I started in business professionally at, a terribly young age of just 11 years old. So, I got my MBA at Maryland. I was really young when I got that one as well. So professionally, I knew I could handle it. As far as identifying the opportunity in the space, halfway through my career in WWE, I knew that this company needed to be started by someone. Actually, I pitched the idea to a friend while I was still with WWE, and I was like, "Hey, man, if you're looking for your next step, like I think you should start this company. I feel like it would do a lot of good for a lot of people, including yourself." I they didn't, go for it. Luckily for me. So when it became my turn, started the company right away. The day I was free, I called Steve Kaye, who was one of my best friends. I met him from the party days back at the Hard Rock in Vegas when, he was booking all the talent there. And I knew he had a background in business, and I knew he was a massive, massive wrestling mark, which is funny because his middle name actually is Mark. So we give him a hard time with that. But like, I'm literally going through, and I knew I wanted to start this business with someone I was close with, and I thought through everyone I knew, and he was literally at the top of the list. So the company blew up immediately. We did paid deals for over 500 talent last year. I'm pretty sure we're going to top that number by April this year. We'll probably even beat all of last year's business. Hopefully that's what we did last year. We had it beat by Mania. So the company's growing leaps and bounds, and we wouldn't have it other way because a company like this only thrives, based on the trust and the reputation with the talent. And luckily I was there for 10 years as one of them, and we were able to create something that we felt like no one else could replicate.
Yeah, that's certainly fantastic. And you talk about how the success was almost immediate with Paragon. But was there one moment? I'm not asking you to reveal like contract terms or anything, but was there one moment you could point to recently that's like, okay, like we're really in this now?
No, I am not one to stop and celebrate our wins. When you hit something big, it's like awesome. Maybe you get like 10 seconds of like getting hyped for a moment. Then it's like, all right, on to the next thing. Like we got to keep this thing moving in the right direction. And honestly, we've just been so busy. There hasn't been any time for crap like that, even though we do try to pencil it in from time to time. Sometimes you look back and you look at the collective whole and it's like, wow, like I think when I started the company, I didn't even think like it was going to get to this point, especially not at that speed. And now that we're here, it's like, man, the sky's the limit. Our sights are set on something really big that hopefully can do a lot of good for a lot of people.
Well, you certainly are for your colleagues and your clients. And you mentioned trust. I think you got to have a lot of trust from a lot of people to be able to get so many companies and wrestlers under one roof. Of course, Palm Slam Fest presented by Paragon, April 15th to the 18th. This is actually the second annual show. For any fans that aren't familiar, maybe they're going to be in town for WrestleMania in Las Vegas then. Can you tell us a little bit about it and how this concept got started?
Yeah, Slam Fest, like you said, man, this is part two. So we had to do it bigger and badder, especially with Mania going back to the same city. You gotta find a way to up the ante, and there's a lot of great programming going on that week, but I think that we created something really special with Slam Fest. Lots and lots of events. I mean, if we want to talk about the wrestling side of it first, again, like when we first started the company, we didn't necessarily think we were going to go and become wrestling promoters, like we wanted to focus on everything outside of the ring, professionally, from the third party branding standpoint, sponsorships, outside of the contract negotiations, which we knew we wanted to help people out from the start for those. Um, but the company keeps evolving, and we keep dabbling into new sectors that have been very successful for us. And now with the wrestling side, being able to tie together five just global juggernauts, that was kind of one of those moments like you were talking about earlier, where we wanted to be excited and wanted to be like, holy crap, but it's like, nah, nah, shut up, man. Like we'll celebrate once the thing is done and we put on some successful events. But it's a big one. Again, this is going to be CMLL's first standalone show outside of Mexico in their 92-year unbelievably successful history. I mean, to be a part of that, to be partners with them on this project for this, for them to trust us with that, I mean, that means the world to us. I mean, that is something special, especially when they're selling out Arena Mexico every single week. They have multiple venues that they own that they're selling out every single week. Over 1 million tickets sold in 2025. Like, these are crazy numbers. It was fascinating when I got to actually go down there and meet with them and observe all this and just kind of soak it in as a fan. It was crazy. And then we got, Maple Leaf Pro's first show in the US. We got Stardom and Tokyo Joshi under the same roof. We got House of Glory coming in. They already snagged the Hardys as their main event, their only wrestling match that they're going to be doing that week. I mean, these are all, you put together this combo, and it's just like, man, this is really cool. We got Japan, we got Canada, we got Mexico, we got America. Like, this is awesome. And that's just the wrestling side. It doesn't include all of our other events that we got going on.
Man, can you tell us about the other events?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for us, the main event, I will say, is going to be the pool party on Saturday. That's going to be like an all hands on deck event. I mean, last year, even though I think on the flyer, I think we had like 4 or 5 towns. No, I think we had like seven, maybe. I can't remember, something like that, on the flyer. But there was 100 wrestlers that showed up. Like, everybody just wanted to come and hang out and eat and drink and play games and do contests and win prizes and all this stuff. So wrestlers just kind of started showing up on their own. And we have a whole bunch of activity going on. We're going to do an eating contest again, with the winner getting a check to charity. Firefighters versus police officers versus pro wrestlers. We did it last year. It was awesome. I bit my lip in the same spot like 6 times. I almost lost a lip out there, but it was for charity, so whatever. I think we're gonna probably have some video game tournaments. We're gonna be doing a lot, man. I don't want to say too much right now because we're gonna probably unveil that as we get closer. But then you got Mick Foley is gonna do his comedy show, and Soraya is gonna do her live podcast for Rule Breakers. The Hardys are gonna do their Hardy party. Man, we got a lot of extra programming too. I know the Bellas are going to be there doing their own event. Bubba's going to be there doing his own event. Pretty much the entire time, there's going to be something going on at all times, with the schedule perfectly coordinated, so no one's stepping into the same time zones. No one's going to have to choose one event or over another at the Palm. So yeah, I mean, and it's a premium hotel. The first hotel I ever stayed at in Vegas, so it's got a personal connection to me, but a premium venue with a very affordable cost. We always want to do something upscale with Paragon. We're not trying to put on any budget events, but we also want to make sure that it is affordable for the fans. So I feel like that place was the perfect combination of that. We got some sponsors that are going to come on board to make sure that the fans feel a real win. Free admission to the pool party on Saturday. Like, we're doing a lot of free admission events. And for anything that is ticketed, we are definitely keeping the tickets affordably priced. So, a lot for everybody, the whole family.
For sure. And where can fans find more info on Slamfest?
The Slamfest, you can go to the Palms website and check out Slamfest. There's our own landing page for that. Otherwise, go to my Instagram page, go to Paragon Talent Group's Instagram page, check that out, and then keep up with the five promotions, the five families that are coming in to take over the Pearl Theater for Slamfest. Everybody's going to be posting regular updates. Check out the Hardys, Saraya, Mick Foley, the Nature Boy himself, Ric Flair is going to be there, of course. He absolutely crushed it for the Palms last year. They love him. Actually, a special treat for the fans that came to the pool party last year. They got to sit and watch WrestleMania with Rick as John Cena was, trying to beat his record. And that's something that I think, no wrestling fan is going to forget. And Rick wasn't watching from like a private, isolated VIP cabana. He literally left that spot and went out to the most public bar right in the middle of the action. He likes to sit in with the fans. And, I think that's why people like booking him so much. He likes to party. He's a lot of fun. And it was just a really cool experience. So we'll have more of those this year for everybody for sure.
Love to hear it. And I love that you mentioned case studies. We both are in kind of the agency world and everything. And you have to have data with you, especially when you're negotiating with vendors and different parties and everything else. I think you kind of undersold your background with Morgan Stanley. I mean, my friend, you started at seventh grade doing work for them, which is pretty remarkable. And obviously are a well-educated man. That being said, did it drive you nuts at times when you're in WWE where some of the bonuses, at least from an outsider's perspective, seemed kind of more discretionary or trust me, bro, when it came to like pay-per-views or POEs or anything like that?
Yeah, we never really knew how those ever worked out, no matter how hard some of us tried to track them. Yeah, in the representation game, you're always trying to look out for your talent, right? And make sure that they're getting a rate that is fair, that makes them happy, but also puts them in a position where, they can retire hopefully when they're done if they put in enough time, in the big leagues. You don't want to see these people that broke their backs for a company for 10, 20 years, literally, and then they're having to work indies for peanuts. And just to figure out how to pay their medical bills or find a way to live. I mean, that was the initial goal for the company, was to prevent all that crap. So having been there and having sat in that seat that they're in, I think it puts us in a very unique place to negotiate these contracts and maybe get a little bit more creative with creating strategy for the talent's future. So yeah, the game is always changing and evolving. You got to keep a pulse on that. It can be a very lucrative place, but you can always also leave very unfulfilled, which is why making sure you got a team in your corner, someone to watch out for yourself, it's always really important.
Absolutely. And you can, of course, check out Slamfest at the Palms, April 15th to the 18th. Mojo, before we let you go, we always like to ask our guests some random and rapid fire questions just to get to know them better. You have a little bit of time?
Bring it on.
All right, great. Favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
Oh man. Cheetos, Cheez-Its, Goldfish. If I had to pick one, maybe Cheez-Its. It's a toss-up, depends on the day.
All right. Most awkward moment as a pro wrestler, and why was it Michael Cole dancing in the Gronk's theme song?
That was a fun one. I actually had to apologize to Michael Cole after that because I started wailing on his back and like your mother always says, you don't know your own strength. So he was an awesome sport for that. On tour, I lost a little bit of weight, obviously from wrestling every day and wearing the same gear. You only can do so much trying to clean it between matches. It got really stretched out and it was hard to keep everything in one day. I'll say that.
Luckily, no leaks, anything else, you're all good.
Thank goodness.
Now, as we addressed at the top of the show, you're like me, you're a proud Arab American, you're Palestinian, and we come from, proud Arab roots, immigrant roots. That being said, when you go into a career that's a little unconventional, sometimes the family's going to raise a few eyebrows. So how did your Arab family react when you said, okay, got this nice cushy gig in finance waiting for me, NFL's over, I'm going to go into pro wrestling now?
They thought I was a psychopath, some of them. My aunt has always been my business mentor. She was the one that was like, "Are you crazy? Are you stupid? You're going to turn down $500,000 to go back to football, a seven-figure career to go into, finance, and you're going to start over for 39,000 in pro wrestling where you might not make it? Like, are you dumb?" But the rest of the family's like, "Yeah, I think this guy might have been born to be a pro wrestler." So they didn't fight it. I think everyone was mostly supportive, but it's always great to have your devil's advocate in the family too, making sure that you're thinking through life-changing decisions from all perspectives.
Unfortunately, on a more serious note, at the time we're talking right now, obviously there's a lot going on in Lebanon. Obviously, the genocide in Gaza and Palestine. You are a proud Palestinian, a proud Arab. First of all, I just want to commend you for just being so outspoken and advocating for your people, for our people, and to educating people with your platform. I guess first and foremost, how are you feeling these days? And like a lot of us, how have you been able to kind of get through it day to day, which is so much, awful things going on the last 3 years, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's really tough, and I feel like I spend so much time on Twitter seeing what's happening, and all the children that are being killed for what seems like no reason, and it's disgusting, man. It's horrible, and it really makes you rethink everything in life and questioning everything that you've been told and trying to arrive at your own decisions, which of course we all should be doing all the time anyways. It's horrible, man, but you think you have problems over here in this country and you realize that your problems pale in comparison to just what daily life is over there. And you want to do so much more, and you listen to what people are saying and you try to track it and you try to stay on top of it, and you see so much of the devil walking around in the real world, and it's horrible. But you can't get discouraged. You got to stay strong for those that really need you and support you. And I go to bed every night feeling like there's so much more that I want to be doing, and thinking about different things that I can do to get more involved and get in the game. And you know, it's just horrible to see. So step one, I feel like is awareness, and bringing as much awareness to the issue that's going on. I feel like that's really, we're starting to turn a page with that. I think people are, starting to wake up a little bit and learn what reality truly is, and hopefully it continues to trend in that right direction. And it's just, you never want to see war. You never want to see innocent people of any faith, of any religion, of any ethnicity dying in horrible, horrible ways for somebody else's greed. And that's what we need to fight. That's what we all need to band together to fight and combat. So it's tough, it's tough, as you know.
Yeah, as I know too well. I hope nobody ever has to text their cousins, hey, you still alive, or hey, how you doing? After reading the news, it's a very uniquely awful feeling.
Absolutely. And yeah, we've had to do that a lot. So it's you know just as well as I do, man. It's not the world people should be living in.
I agree. Well, very well said. We'll transition to something a little bit lighter here, but just send our thoughts and our prayers of love to our brothers and sisters in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Congo, Sudan. So many awful things going on here in the States. God bless them, and God bless you for again for your advocacy and everything. And kind of in relation to that, talking about operating day to day. Having to get through the stresses of what's going on back home, being an entrepreneur, all the pressure on you. How important is it to have amazing partners in your corner? How important is it to have the right romantic partner and your lovely wife, who's also the mother of your child, and also Stephen, who's your best friend and been a great partner at Paragon?
Yeah, let me got to start with my wife and my kid first. Steve can wait. No, I'm tremendously blessed. I married the perfect woman for me, the one I love the most in the world, and she's been an absolute godsend. The best mother I've ever seen. This is the thing that she's always wanted to do, the thing she's always wanted to be. She's just incredibly researched, and it makes my number one stress in life just so much lessened, almost like carefree, because I just kind of follow her instructions. I follow her lead. I do what I'm told. Like I trust. I think that's one strength is I try to be very receptive of who is more knowledgeable than me in a certain category, and I try to learn from them. I try to be as open as I possibly can while trying to create my own way, of course. But for this, I follow what I'm told, and it's incredible blessing to not have to go to bed every night and just wonder, am I raising my child correctly? Am I making the right decisions? And am I putting them in the best path for success? Because again, I can essentially back her up and do everything I always wanted to be as a dad, but with that peace of mind, and it's incredible. My daughter is absolutely wild. She's such a big personality. She's so far ahead of where she should be, and I credit her mother for all of that. And it's the best, man. That's another reason why I don't ever want to go back to wrestling full time. Like, I don't want to be on the road. I don't want to miss this. I did my time in football and wrestling, and now I get to be here with my family, and it's the best. And Steve's a guy that has become a family member. I mean, shoot, I was just at his baby sister's wedding this past weekend. He thought I was going to go in and not know anyone, and realized I knew the majority of the wedding because I've known his family for so long. Maybe I even dated his mom for a while. No, I'm just kidding. Only kind of. That's been a joke that Steve has loved to hate for a long time now, that his mom always plays into. His stepdad too, and his dad, which is always really funny. But Steve's a guy that's family. There's a reason that he was my first phone call when starting this. And Steve is great at a lot of things that I'm deficient in. And he would probably tell you the same way. And I think that's why it works. And there's always a learning curve with learning how to communicate with each other and operate as 50-50 partners in the best way possible. And maybe they say you shouldn't work with your friends. I've always pushed back on a statement like that. You should work with people that you like and that you trust, and you would go the extra mile for, to make sure that their family is taken care of, just like they would do the same for you. So can't say enough good things about him. I've always had an extremely supportive family, a very blunt, open, honest family, as you know, from backgrounds like ours. But nobody gets anywhere by themselves. I don't care what anyone says. Eventually, you're going to have someone that'll vouch for you, that'll put their name on yours. Nobody makes it alone. And I think that's part of this game, is learning and growing together.
Very well said. Nobody's truly self-made. We all got it somewhere with somebody.
That's right.
All right, we'll get you on a couple high notes then. What's your best piece of advice for success?
Find your own way, man. Be your own person. Find that one thing that you are great at that no one else can replicate, and be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself always. Otherwise you take bad risks, you make big mistakes, you act foolish. Always be able to look at yourself in the mirror and come to terms with yourself.
Amazing. And lastly, for those that haven't already been convinced, why should people check out Paragon Slamfest WrestleMania week in Las Vegas at the Palms?
Because it's going to be the most fun events that are going on all week, baby. We will not disappoint. I've said it already. If you're at one of our events and it's disappointing you, DM me. Let me know. Tweet me. I will fix that weekend for you. That's what we're about. We just want to make sure that everyone has a great time, no issues. We all just want to come together and have fun. So that's what it's about.
Love it. Bonus question. Is there anything you wish I asked you in this interview?
No, man, I think you did a great job. I think we covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully, I didn't drone on for too long, but yeah, no, it's great to meet you, man, and I appreciate you reaching out. That was awesome to see. The second you told me about your background, I was like, well, obviously, I'm talking to this dude regardless of what it's for. So I appreciate you, Fred. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for covering our events, and of course, you're on the VIP guest list for all of our stuff. Let's go.
Bless you, man. Much appreciated. Looking forward to chopping it up with you and Steve at the Palms Slam Fest, April 15th to the 18th. Mojo's the easy man to find, of course. Paragon Talent Group. Mojo, thank you so much for your time, man. But actually, one more thing before I let you go. You already mentioned your socials. Anything else you got going on that you're allowed to promote?
Ooh, bro, we're gonna have to schedule this for the next one. I don't want to
Okay.
give out too
Okay.
much too soon. We already got enough for the fans to digest right now. I don't want to overwhelm anybody.
Fair, fair. We'll chat more at Slamfest. How's that sound?
You got it.